In the ancient land of England, where the echoes of clashing swords and galloping horses resounded through the corridors of history, a story began, a story of a young king named Henry Futh, or Harry as he was fondly called in his reckless youth. Once a prince who spent his nights trading jests in the taverns of Eastcheap with companions like Pistol and Bardolph, Harry had shed his cloak of revelry to don the heavy crown of a king, his heart ablaze with ambition heavier still. Beneath the clouded skies of the 15th century, amidst the Hundred Years' War, his eyes were fixed on the throne of France, a dream that set his soul and his army afire. In the grand hall of England's royal court, King Henry stood before the clergy and nobles. A question hung in the air. Did he have a rightful claim to the French throne? The Archbishop of Canterbury, with a resonant voice, traced Henry's lineage, declaring that the Salic law posed no barrier to his claim. The king's heart swelled with purpose, but a gust from across the sea brought a challenge. The Dauphin, France's haughty heir, sent a mocking gift, a chest filled with tennis balls, a scornful jab at Henry's wild youth. The young king's eyes flashed with fury, and with a voice unyielding, he vowed, "I shall turn these balls into cannon fire, and I will play the game of war on French soil." Yet before he could raise the sails of war, treachery stirred within his court. Three trusted nobles, Scrope, Cambridge, and Grey, plotted his assassination. With the cunning of a fox, Henry unmasked their betrayal, confronted them, and sentenced them to death. This was a turning point. No longer just a king, he was a resolute leader. His ships set sail for France, carrying a small but determined army across the churning waves. On the shores of France, Henry's forces laid siege to the city of Harfleur. The army was weary, drenched by relentless rain, but Henry's spirit remained unbroken. Standing before his men, he raised his voice in a speech that shook the heavens. Once more unto the breach, "Dear friends, let us fill this siege with our courage." His words were like a spark, igniting the hearts of his soldiers. They stormed the walls, and Harfleur fell. Yet victory came at a cost. Disease began to ravage the ranks, and the road to ultimate triumph stretched long and perilous. In those nights, the camp buzzed with the diverse voices of the English army. Captain Fluellen, the proud Welshman with his thick accent, debated strategy with MacMorris, the fiery Irishman, and Jamie, the steadfast Scot. Meanwhile, Pistol and Bardolph traded quips and petty schemes, embodying the heartbeat of the common folk who fought far from the grandeur of royal courts. The path to Agincourt was the true test. On a cold October night in 1415, the English army stood on muddy ground, exhausted and outnumbered. A mere 6,000 men faced a French force 5 times their size. In the darkness, Henry donned a simple cloak and slipped among his soldiers, disguised as one of them. He listened to their fears, their doubts, and even their curses against the king who led them to this desperate hour. Returning to his tent, weighed by the burden of leadership, he resolved to inspire them. At dawn he stood before his army, his sword gleaming under a gray sky. "We few, we happy few, we band of brothers," he proclaimed, his voice trembling with conviction. "He that lives this day and returns home will raise his glass every Saint Crispin's Day, and his name will be remembered with pride." His words wove a spell, transforming the weary few into an unstoppable force. In the Battle of Agincourt, the English wielded their longbows with deadly precision, while the French faltered in their overconfidence. Thousands of Frenchmen fell, while the English losses were miraculously few. The victory was nothing short of a miracle, and Henry, the young king, became a legend. After Agincourt, France bowed before Henry's might. In the Grand Palace of Troyes, King Charles VI of France signed a treaty naming Henry heir to the French throne. But the pact included a union of hearts. Henry was to wed Catherine, the beautiful French princess. In a scene brimming with warmth and humor, the battle-hardened soldier attempted to woo Catherine with stumbling French and earnest English. "I am no poet, but my heart speaks true," he told her. Catherine, with a gentle smile, accepted, sealing the bond between their nations. Yet the tale did not end in eternal triumph. The chorus, like a ghost of history, stepped forward once more to tell what followed. Henry V died young, leaving his infant son, Henry VI, to inherit the throne. Most of his gains in France were lost, and the wars raged on. But in those glorious moments at Agincourt, Henry was a symbol of courage, a king who united wisdom with humanity, leading his people to a victory that would echo through time. Henry Fies is more than a tale of war. It is the saga of a young man who defied fate to become a great king. From his fiery speeches to the quiet moments of doubt he faced in secret, Shakespeare paints a portrait of a leader who is no invincible hero, but a man wrestling with his fears while carrying his people toward victory. The common characters, Fluellen, Pistol, and Bardolph, add a touch of everyday life, reminding us that war is not just a story of kings, but of ordinary souls who bore its sacrifices. Agincourt was an immortal moment, not merely for its military triumph, but for proving that a determined few, united in spirit, could topple mighty armies. Thus Henry remains, in Shakespeare's words, a king of hearts, his story told and retold across generations. In the ancient land of England, where the echoes of clashing swords and galloping horses resounded through the corridors of history, a story began, a story of a young king named Henry Futh, or Harry as he was fondly called in his reckless youth. Once a prince who spent his nights trading jests in the taverns of Eastcheap with companions like Pistol and Bardolph, Harry had shed his cloak of revelry to don the heavy crown of a king, his heart ablaze with ambition heavier still. Beneath the clouded skies of the 15th century, amidst the 100 Years' War, his eyes were fixed on the throne of France, a dream that set his soul and his army afire. In the grand hall